From Wish TV and the All Indiana Podcast Network, this is the News 8 Daily 8 Podcast, a Wish TV News 8 update.
Hi, this is Hannah Mordeau, and this is your News 8 Daily for Friday, January 23rd. We are under a weather alert for frigid temperatures, snow, and a winter storm warning. Here's Marcus Bailey with the impact you can expect today and this weekend.
Let's start with our weather alerts first. It is a Storm Track 8 weather alert day and weekend, for that matter. Cold weather advisory. Now, this is kind of the forefront for today, but this is actually going to go until Saturday morning, and new updates now from the Louisville office basically fills in the entire state now. It's going to be hitting that threshold statewide with the cold, not only for today, and it will be all day long today, but through the day tomorrow as well. The upgrades that we have now gotten during the overnight hours is we have now issued the Weather Service has issued winter storm warnings for all of central Indiana. We're still waiting on the northern office to flip the switch, whether it's going to be an advisory or a warning. We'll walk you through that. It's going to be kind of a close call up north where the numbers are going to be lower, but just look how massive this winter storm warning is, from New Mexico all the way to western Pennsylvania and West Virginia, and that's going to really continue to extend into New England. This is a massive, massive storm. These are ice storm warnings in Mississippi and parts of southern Tennessee. So this is going to be an epic storm. It's not just us that's going to get the brunt of it. There are many, many states that are going to be locked in with some pretty extreme winter weather over the next 2 to 3 days. Right now, 17, northwest wind at 10, feels like temperature at 5. 11 in Lafayette, 16 in Muncie. Again, the big problem today is going to be the cold, as another cold front is going to move through. And again, we've already hit our high today. These are actual air temperatures. It's 1 below in Chicago. It is 20 below in Minneapolis. So this Arctic air is now rushing down. Our numbers will hover in the single digits for much of the day, and wind chill values likely around 10 below, but up in northern Indiana, you're probably going to be as low as 20 below zero. Let's talk about our weekend storm complex, Storm Track 8 Futurecast, and how we see this playing out. Outside of the cold today, you have zero precipitation issues, okay? As we roll through Futurecast, if you need to get things done, you should be fine this evening after work. You should be okay for the first half of the day on Saturday. The morning hours should be okay. And I will say this as well. This is at noon, and this is showing that we're starting some snow. There's a lot of dry air with this cold that's settled in. So it actually may take a little bit of time to get things going in terms of the snowfall. This is just the first wave, though, and it's not the most significant wave, but we may get some moderate snow down in the southern portion of the state. As we get into your Saturday evening, we'll probably pick up the rates a little bit. I do think there's going to be a brief lull late Saturday night through the early overnight hours of Sunday, but I do think we'll pick it back up, and the more potent part of the system really gets going Sunday morning. Futurecast at 5 a.m. You'll see the dark shades of blue almost statewide. This is real heavy snow. I think thunder snow cannot be ruled out in southern portions of the state. That's how heavy the rates likely will be. This goes through around 3 o'clock in the afternoon on Sunday. Still some heavy snow. And then the evening hours, we taper the snow off. It won't be exceptionally windy, but keep in mind, this is going to be a really fine, powdery light snow. So it's going to be easy to kind of whip it around. Here's our forecast updated here. 7 to 10 inches here in this lavender or purple. That would basically involve the entire metro area. 10 to 12 inches, maybe even some isolated higher amounts, especially if you get some thunder snow down south. It's going to be a big one here. Really want to stress, travel is going to be difficult when the snow gets going Saturday afternoon. It's going to be nearly impossible on Sunday morning because of the heavy rates of snow.
I earned my degree online at Arizona State University. I chose to get my degree at ASU because I knew that I'd get a quality education, they were recognized for excellence, and that I would be prepared for the workforce upon graduating. To be associated with ASU, both as a student and alum, it makes me extremely proud, and having experienced the program, I know now that I'm set up for success. Learn more at asuonline.asu.edu.
With the temperatures dropping and a winter storm on the way, firefighters are preparing for more calls to fires caused by heaters. News 8's Kat Sandoval spoke to a firefighter about how to safely stay warm.
Ahead of the winter storm, firefighters tell me there's a safe way to keep warm.
One of the biggest causes of fire during the winter is misused space heaters. Whether you're plugging them into an extension cord, and the extension cord gets hot, or you're not plugging them into the wall directly, or they tip over and cause a fire. Also, putting a blanket on top of the space heater or anything close is what causes a house to go from really nice and cozy to and fully involved in flames.
This is an example of a fire caused by a space heater. Portable heaters are the second leading cause of home fires, according to FEMA. And firefighters recommend keeping things 3 feet away from space heaters or fireplaces.
You need to make sure if you have your fireplace that, one, your wood is separated away from the fire, and that you have a guard in front of the overall opening to the chimney. Because last thing you want is the kids to get in there, the pets to get in there, anything, and then you don't want embers popping out.
Perry says it's essential to keep your chimney flue open to prevent carbon monoxide poisoning. And lastly, snowblowers can cause fires too.
Make sure the snowblower stops before you go in to unplug it. Make sure you keep it away from everything. That way the radiant heat doesn't accidentally catch something on fire inside your garage or barn or wherever you store it.
This winter storm is predicted to bring in inches of snow, which means more people are staying indoors.
Check on your neighbors. It's going to be cold. Make sure you check on everybody because we live in Indiana. We're neighbors helping neighbors. And that's what we need to be during this cold spurt.
One important point that Perry tells me is to not leave any form of heating device unattended. Reporting in Madison Township, I'm Kat Sandoval with Wish TV, wishtv.com.
State police are urging you to be careful on the roads this weekend. Troopers recommend checking tire pressure and tread, testing your battery, replacing worn wipers, and packing an emergency kit. Officers say that once you're on the road, you should slow down, increase your distance between other cars, and avoid using cruise control if possible. With bitter cold in the forecast, doctors are warning people to take steps to avoid frostbite and hypothermia. News 8's Derek Dennis spoke with the Eskenazi Hospital's chief of emergency medicine about what you should look out for.
Several things you want to kind of be wary of. First of all is frostbite. So you want to make sure that you're covered up as best you can. Exposed skin, particularly as the temperatures go lower and lower, tend to get frostbite a lot easier. Once you hit in the negatives as far as wind chill or actual temperature, a lot of times that frostbite can develop in minutes rather than hours. I think if I remember right, -20 wind chill gives you about 15 minutes before you start to develop signs of frostbite. Additionally, when you're clearing out snow from either a sidewalk or a driveway or what have you, worrying about overexerting yourself, trying to get all that done, and depending on your health situation, may not be a great idea to do all at once. But also,
so what do you do? What do you do at that point? Do you take breaks? Do you recognize that, hey, you got to get somebody younger out there to start shoveling? What's a person to do?
You can always find a young person, that'd be great. But I think the big things are take breaks and make sure that you have dry clothes next to your skin. The wetness tends to make heat go away faster and accelerate transitions to frostbite as well as hypothermia. And so the more sweaty you are, and you can still sweat when it's really cold outside, the more sweaty you are, the more the layers closest to your skin stay wet, the more likely it is you can develop hypothermia or frostbite. So you want to be wary that you're taking breaks. So you're going inside when you start to feel some tingling in your skin, or you start to see some discoloration, particularly in your fingertips. But keep everything covered up, including your nose, including your ears, because those places are pretty prone to get frostbite as well.
And explain the difference between frostbite and hypothermia for those that don't know.
Yeah, so frostbite is a skin change. For lack of a better term, all of your cells have water. And the cells closest to the surface are skin cells. And as they get exposed to below freezing temperatures, that water can freeze just like everything else. And when that water freezes, expands, starts to destroy cells. And depending on how deep those layers get destroyed, sometimes it can get into your blood flow and cause problems with healing. And even skin death, where you start to lose skin over your various appendages. Hypothermia is more of a whole body problem where your core temperature starts to drop. Initially, you start to shiver in order to raise your body temperature, But eventually, as you become cooler and cooler, your brain doesn't work as well. The blood gets shunted back to your vital organs. And the hard part is that when your brain doesn't work as well, you don't think as clearly, and you don't think, hey, I'm really cold and I need to get back inside.
Right.
And so things really start to happen. And eventually, you can get things like cardiac arrest where your heart just completely stops if you get cold.
Sure.
So that's a hard part as well.
Derek Dennis for Wish TV and wishtv.com.
Breaking overnight, police in Lafayette have arrested 5 people connected to the shooting of a Tippecanoe County judge and his wife. The suspects are Raylan Ferguson, Thomas Moss, Amanda Millsap, Zenata Greer, and Blake Smith. Investigators say Judge Steve Meyer and his wife were shot and wounded inside their home in Lafayette on Sunday. So far, all police have said is that the investigation involved authorities in Tippecanoe County, Kentucky, Pennsylvania, and that the FBI and federal marshals also helped in the arrest. Investigators did not give a possible motive for the shooting. The Indianapolis Colts have confirmed that the FBI is investigating the death of Colts owner Jim Irsay and the doctor who provided care to him in the final months of his life. The Washington Post was first to report that the FBI is seeking records on Irsay's death and his relationship with an addiction specialist, Harry Harutunian. He is the addiction specialist who signed Irsay's death certificate. Irsay died in May of last year in California. Dr. Harutunian signed his death certificate listing cardiac arrests caused by pneumonia and heart issues as the cause of death. The Post reported in August that Harutunian had been giving Irsay opioids and ketamine injections. However, Irsay's family did not request an autopsy. Colts said in a statement, "We are aware of the investigation, but at this time we've not been contacted by the FBI or been served with any subpoenas." A bill moving through the General Assembly would require transgender students to use the bathrooms and locker rooms that match their assigned sex at birth rather than their gender identity. But as News 8's government reporter Garrett Berquist tells us, the bill goes beyond school bathrooms.
This is the latest legislation dealing with transgender issues here at the State House. Besides the bathroom issue, it effectively prohibits state documents from taking transgender identities into account. The bill requires all birth certificates to indicate a person's sex assigned at birth. It requires the Department of Correction to incarcerate people based on that information. The bill's author and supporters call it a safety issue.
What happens if somebody like me is arrested and jailed? I also deserve to be protected in a jail, but we already know that facilities have vulnerable populations and that the authorities do whatever they can, whatever is practical to make sure that those vulnerable populations are not subjected to the type of violence.
A UCLA review of data from the 2012 National Inmate Survey found more than 1/3 of inmates who identify as transgender reported being assaulted in prison. That compares with about 3.5% of inmates who did not identify as transgender. On Wednesday, a Senate committee added language to require all students at public schools and universities to use the bathroom or locker room that corresponds with their sex at birth. Advocates for transgender people say not only is that a privacy violation, it's a health and safety issue.
There's a whole slew of statistics on that about how trans girls and trans female people are actually at a much heightened risk. They have statistically one of the highest risks of UTIs because they simply do not use the bathrooms in public space. So there's all sorts of implications in this, from harassment to physical violence to legal action and even medical implications.
Burns says providing a single-person unisex bathroom helps, but it could still put transgender students' privacy at risk. She says arguments in favor of safety and comfort ignore the needs of transgender people.
So if you're not comfortable changing in front of someone, let's find an accommodation for them rather than preemptively penalizing people for simply existing in, again, a bathroom, or if, a PE is required in most schools. It's a space they don't necessarily want to be in. It's just a space they have to be in.
Bill author Senator Liz Brown did not return News 8's request for comment. At the end of her bill's hearing, she said she wants state agencies to have a clear, single standard when it comes to sex and gender identification.
We are literally looking at science. It is very important for us to be able to define male and female and have a definition enshrined in code, not an ideology, a scientific-based definition, so that our agencies, our prisons, et cetera, are all working on the same basis.
the bill now moves to the full Senate for further consideration. At the State House, I'm Garrett Bergquist for Wish TV and WishTV.com.
The U.S. House has passed 2 spending bills that would keep the government open. The Senate now has until January 30th to approve the bills to avoid a partial government shutdown. The bills include funding for multiple agencies, including the Department of Defense, Department of Health and Human Services, and the Department of Homeland Security. TikTok has finalized a deal to create a new American entity called TikTok US. This comes as the company looked to avoid the threat of a ban here in the United States, which had been looming for years if the company did not sell to an American owner. The deal is with several investors, including Oracle, Silver Lake, and the Emirati investment firm MGX. Company says the new entity will operate under defined safeguards that protect national security for U.S. users.
Since you're here, I have to ask, how does it feel to win Indiana's first ever football championship?
Well, we finally got our coach Ignited to smile. So that was the biggest accomplishment.
After the championship win, Fernando Mendoza is trying his hand at late-night television. IU's Heisman-winning quarterback was on The Tonight Show with Jimmy Fallon last night. Mendoza explained what it was like to win a title for the Hoosiers and walked the audience through his iconic dive into the end zone for what turned out to be the game-clinching touchdown. Then Fallon had him literally break some records, yes, using a football and shattering flying records that Fallon was throwing. Coach Curt Cignetti, Fernando Mendoza, and the rest of your national champion Indiana Hoosiers football team are scheduled to celebrate their title game with IU fans tomorrow. Championship celebration begins at 1 in the afternoon at Memorial Stadium. We're told as of now the event's still on despite the winter storm warning. Lots for the event open at 10 in the morning. If you don't want to face the cold, though, and you do want to be a part of the celebration, well, Wish TV has you covered. You can watch it all live starting at 1 right here on Wish TV. One Hoosier defender is taking his skills to the NFL after winning a national championship at IU. ESPN reports that Indiana defensive back D'Angelo Pons is set to enter the NFL draft this year. Pons is a junior and has not made the announcement official yet, but ESPN says Pons told reporters at an appearance in Bloomington that he plans to enter the draft. Pons recorded 60 tackles this year for the Hoosiers and 2 interceptions, including a pick 6 in the first play of this year's Peach Bowl. And this has been your News 8 Daily from Wish TV. I'm Hannah Mordeau. Watch us on Wish TV and WishTV.com.
This is the News 8 Daily 8 podcast, a Wish TV News 8 update on demand. For even more, on demand and on the go. Connect with Wish TV on Facebook at WishTV.com and on the free Wish TV mobile app. Thank you for listening. And be sure to like, subscribe, and follow this podcast for updates every weekday morning on the All Indiana Podcast Network and wherever you get your podcast.